To think something so small can connect you to everything that matters.
When your life and all you love
are on the line.
HealthLink is always with you when every second counts in the emergency room, providing immediate access to your medical records.
Because Bob has trouble remembering all his medications.
Because I'm in love with my kids' kids.
Because my car lost control while driving.
Because now I'm looking out for both of us.
Because I have diabetes, but it doesn't have me.
Because I spend my life in the ER trying to save yours.
So there you have the Verichip RFID commercial.
Well, President Obama taking on not only health care reform, but another controversial issue, immigration reform. And a key meeting at the White House tomorrow could be the first step toward that reform and for some very big changes for every American worker. Senators Chuck Schumer and Lindsey Graham, bipartisan that is, set to sit down with President Obama tomorrow, discussing plans for a national identification card. Now, this thing is meant to crack down on illegal workers, but our next guest says it could crack down on you and your privacy. Congressman Ron Paul is a Texas Republican. He's opposed to this card. Congressman, afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. Nice to be with you.
It's a great pleasure to have you. All right, so what's the problem with the national ID card? Because its proponents say this is it. This is the thing that's going to finally help us stop illegal immigrants from coming in here and taking jobs.
Well, we do have a problem with illegal immigration, but I would say the problems of every American citizen carrying their papers for wherever they go is a much worse problem than illegal immigration. Besides, you can take care of illegal immigration otherwise. But people over this decades now in this country, there have been some who have wanted this national ID card, and they're looking for every opportunity to do it. And this is it. I mean, who knows what will come of it. My guess is they'll probably have a GPS chip in there so that they can measure everybody, every instant, no matter where they go. So to me, it violates the whole principles of privacy, the principles of the Constitution, the principles of the Republic, and to me is a gross distortion of what we should be doing. It's part of an authoritarian society, and dictatorships have this, but not a republic. We're
okay,
not
but tell me how
card.
it's invasive, because what Schumer and Graham are proposing, according to what I read, is your ID card would have either your fingerprint, your thumbprint on there, or it would have a reading of the veins in the back of your hand, and you'd have to be scanned by your prospective employer, and that way, if it came up that you weren't legal, they would catch you by the scan. How does that? I mean, it's not really GPS with the government following you. How does the scan of your fingerprint bother you?
Well, someday it may do this, but why should you have to do this? And they said, well, the equipment to scan your hand or your card is going to cost about $800. And they say, well, what about somebody who might only have 1 or 2 employees and they don't want to buy the equipment? Or you can go to a government office to do this. Can you imagine if the post office takes this up and you stand in line to take your potential employee over and try to get them scanned? I mean, the whole notion of us carrying our papers in everything that we do, every job we get, it will be a national identifying card. One thing that Graham, I think, argued, well, we already have Social Security cards.
Right.
Well, I have a Social Security card that says not to be used for identification purposes. That's what the original Social Security card said.
Well, but what about a driver's license? Virtually all of us have one of those.
Yeah, but I don't have to have a driver's license to get a job. You know, I didn't have to have it to come to Congress. I didn't have to show that.
Well, what about, Congressman, the people who are fired up about this, yes, they recognize it would result in somewhat of a loss of civil liberties, but they're very concerned about illegal immigration. And you say there are other ways of controlling it, but we're not doing it.
Well, that's a failure of enforcing our laws, and one of the problems that we have is that we have a failed economic system that makes immigrants a threat to individuals because of our weak economy. So if we had a decent economy, we'd probably be begging for people to come in and work, because there would be, and quite frankly, a couple of years ago, I had as many people come to my office looking for immigrants to come in to work as I did people screaming and hollering because we had too many.
What do you think?
We were short.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I would want to get your thoughts on this before I let you go. What do you think the government might do to us if we all had a national ID card?
Well, they would monitor everything that we do. And surveillance, the lack of privacy, it's always for good purposes. Everything is for good, and they're going to get rid of illegal immigration. They're going to find the criminals, but they're also going to monitor every single person, every single thing they do. It's sort of this idea of why not have cameras every place on every street corner, because we'll catch the bad guy. Well, why don't they have cameras in our house in case there's child beating or wife beating? I mean, that's when one thing leads to another. You either believe in freedom or you don't. If you think you need supervision and surveillance constantly by your government, and right now, the degree of confidence and trust in our government is very, very low. To turn this additional tool over to the government, to me, should outrage the American people, and so far the people I hear from are outraged.
So interesting to listen to your thoughts on that. The meeting happens tomorrow at the White House. The White House has taken no position on it thus far, but Graham's a Republican, Schumer's a Democrat. We'll see whether they get it through this time. Congressman Ron Paul, thank you so much for your thoughts on it.
Thank you.
Well, folks. Well, President Obama taking on not only health care reform, but another controversial issue, immigration reform. And a key meeting at the White House tomorrow could be the first step toward that reform and for some very big changes for every American worker. Senators Chuck Schumer and Lindsey Graham, bipartisan that is, set to sit down with President Obama tomorrow, discussing plans for a national identification card.
Between my thumb and the index finger.
Can you?
He wrote his book, and then after about a year of seeing all the cool projects, I decided to do it myself.
Now, can you see this little thing implanted in your skin?
Yeah, you can a little bit. You can kind of see it just underneath the skin there. It's you know, rare. I mean, some people that get them done, you can't see it.
It looks just like a tiny little bump.
Yeah, just a little bump.
Do you have one of the chips there, Jennifer? Oh, there, I see, we see it now. Yeah, it's what, look, about a quarter of an inch, half an inch long?
Yeah, it's about, you know, half an inch.
How many
cylinder there?
How many people have done this?
Well, since doing it in March, you know, there's been a small community around the world have cropped up. I'd guess anywhere between 30 and 50 people.
And what are the future applications of this? I mean, I presume it'll be able to do more things than just open your car door or your front door or log onto your computer.
Yeah, there's the common theme is access control, but some people are matching profiles to it. So you get in your front door, but then like a home automation system knows that it's you and sets lighting and music and that kind of preference.
And it's just, is it inserted under your skin with a needle?
Yeah, the left hand was done with a scalpel actually, and it was just placed under by a cosmetic surgeon. Right hand was done with the same needle injector that's used on pets actually.
How does a couple commit to one another? Well, I'll put you on my front door in my microwave. I suppose there will be a lot of future applications. Maybe we'll all have one of these under our skins in time.
To think something so small can connect you.
Big story we're following. New Yorkers can now apply for the new enhanced driver's license. News 4's Melissa Holmes is live at the Peace Bridge with the latest. Melissa?
Well, Lisa, they've only been available for a couple of hours, but already more than 100 New Yorkers have applied for the new enhanced driver's license. A radio frequency chip inside passport card.
Enhanced driver's license makes the most sense because it is a multiple use document. Again, citizenship, identity can be used for driving. It surpasses the other applications of those other documents. And we encourage residents of the state of New York who are U.S. citizens to get one.
You don't need to rush in today. Yes, it's an exciting day. It's September 16th, probably the first on your block to have one. I understand that.
Walmart calls it the latest high-tech way to keep track of its inventory, but others say it could allow the store to spy on people who buy their clothes there.
Money editor John Delano got to the bottom of what this is all about. He joins us live with more. John?
After reports first surfaced that Walmart was putting an electronic chip in some of its clothing items, unless the customer removes the tag on their own, Walmart could determine the location of your clothes even after you leave the store.
You have all your problems with your identity theft and, people get into your personal business. Now they're going to track your clothes? No, I'm sorry. I don't feel comfortable with that at all.
Products like jeans, or how about some underwear, or even a lady's camisole. He says he has no problem with the smart tag up to a point.
I don't know if they want to track me, as long as they're not transmitting something into my body.